So I went to take the feature sheets to the door. And I ring the doorbell, and he comes to the door. He's got a shotgun, and he's pointed at me. And he says, "Get out of here, or I'll shoot you." He says, "I'll shoot you."
All right, welcome to the Realtoring podcast. This is the podcast where we say nice things about realtors because if we don't, who will, right? Today, a very special guest, a heavy hitter. She rookie year is 1984. Average house price in 1984, $102,000 and $102,084. Licensed 36 years. Ottawa real estate royalty, nobility.
Nobility?
Yeah,
Phew,
certainly up there.
that's heavy duty.
Mrs. Mary Lindsay, Mrs. Lindsay, thank you for visiting. Thank you for coming on my podcast.
I think this is really exciting.
Are you as excited as I am?
Well, you and I we should have recorded all of those conversations that we used to have
Well, this is the start of one.
at 1335 Carling. We had some great
We
conversations.
did, absolutely.
Yeah.
I learned a lot from you in those
Well, you know
early
what?
years.
I love realtors. And when I got into the business, my fear was I pictured realtors in the 80s as smoking, drinking, and I thought, I know I'll love the business, but I don't think I'll like the people. Oh my goodness. I have never met a nicer group of people than the good people in real estate. Really, it's true.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you can't be successful and be negative. You just can't.
Agreed.
The two don't go together. So whatever you're feeling in the morning when you get up, you just have to put that happy face on and shove the negativity aside and go out there. And so the successful people in the business are a really exceptional group of people.
And you did it for 36 years.
I did it, and I wanted to keep doing it. I really wanted to do it into my 90s because I read in the New York Times one time about a woman in her 90s who's had a district in Brooklyn that had been hers forever. And she had a granddaughter in the business. And she just kind of, she still got the listings and whatever, but the granddaughter was the heavy hitter out on the road and whatever. And I said to Abby, you know what, that's going to be you and me. I'll be in my 90s and you'll be the one out doing all the running around and stuff. And then COVID came along.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I didn't want to go into people's houses and do all that stuff because I was 80 when that all started. And so there went my plans. I took an early retirement at 80.
Somehow I think you did okay. I think you did okay.
You think I did okay?
I think you did all right. All right. Listen, we like to start every episode. I call it Memory Lane. Now, traditionally I go back to the agent's first sale to try and see
I've got a picture
if
of
they
it.
remember it. You have it?
I found it this morning.
Because our MLS system only goes back to 1995.
Oh, no.
So I couldn't go back as far as your very first sale.
I've got it. And it's right around the corner from here.
Oh,
Yeah. I've been in the business 2 weeks.
tell me about it.
They had a duty room. And I would take everybody's duty, and everybody was trying to give away their duties.
And you should explain what duty means before we
Huh?
go on any further.
Huh?
You should explain what duty means. Because
Really?
you just said that you would take everybody's duty, and I don't think that's what we want on.
Okay. Oh, isn't that funny, eh? The duty room was, of course, before technology and iPhones and all those kind of things. And it was a little room just opposite where the front desk and all the support staff were. So, you had lots of chit-chat between phone calls. But in those days, if you wanted to know the price of a house, you had to phone the real estate office whose number was on the sign in front of the house. So duty was good. That's where you got your clients.
Right.
And so about the second Saturday, I'm in the business. Like everybody wanted to have somebody cover for them, the longtime agents on a weekend. They didn't want to sit Saturday afternoon in the duty room. And so I would take every single duty that I could take. So this guy calls, was his name. Yes. I have 100 and, geez, I don't know. It doesn't say on here. I don't know, say $100,000. I'm qualified for 100,000. And I want to buy a house. Where do you want to be? Oh, I'd like to be in that Westboro area. Okay. I said, can I just have your number and I'll call you back? And I'll call you back within 10 minutes. But I just have to go and look on the computer and see what there is. Yep. So he gives me his name. He gives me his number. And I go and I see an expiry at Cole Avenue. Michael Provo and Julie Teskey of C.A. Fitzsimmons. And I think, you know what? It was $109,000, I think, was the asking price. I phoned C.A. Fitzsimmons, and I said, my name's Mary Lindsay, and I'm with Royal Trust. That's what that was initially. And could you have him call me because I think I can sell his house. So, in about 10 minutes, Michael Provo phones me, and he said, I'm sorry, I don't even think I recognize your name. I said, no, I'm just brand new. I just started. And he said, and why do you think you can sell my house? I'd never even met this great guy yet. I said, well, I'm on duty, and this guy phoned, and he wants to be in Westboro, and you're the only one, like, in that price bracket that, and I know you're expired, but no, he said, I can get you in. He said, when do you want to show it? I said, well, just give me your number and I'll call you back because I'll have to phone this guy back. So I phoned the guy back and I said, I've got a house to show you on Cole Avenue. Do you want to see it this afternoon? He said, yeah, sure. I said, okay. I phoned Michael. I said, well, he can see it this afternoon. Michael said, all right, I'll meet you there at 4 o'clock or whatever. So we go and I show him the house and says, I want to buy it. Oh, my God. And I had said to Jennifer Forward before I left the office, I think I'm going to actually sell this house. Can you get all the stuff and can you type me up an offer because I think I'm going to sell it? She goes, you haven't even shown it, Mary. It doesn't work like that. I said, well, no, I think I found the house for this guy. So anyway, I go out.
Sight unseen. You hadn't even seen the house yet.
I haven't even met the guy. Not sure I know where Cole Avenue is exactly. So anyway, I sold that house. There it is. It's not there anymore.
It's not there anymore.
No. But the funny part was I put in a building inspection because it really was pretty junky. And so the building inspector says to me, how do you get to the basement in this house? I said, oh, I don't think there is a basement. And he said, well, there is a basement. He said, you must have seen that when you sold this house. I said, I hate basements. I said, no, I don't know where the basement is. Well, it was one of those things. You pull up the thing from the floor. Honestly, I'd never seen that in my life before. And then you go down, like, I said to him, oh, my God. Like, I said, I'm not going down there. He said, you sold this house and you never even saw the basement. I said, yeah, I did. Anyway, that was my first sale.
That's a great story.
Well, that's
out of the blue.
One. Yeah, that was a good one.
Okay, we are realtoring with Mrs. Mary Lindsay. Mrs. Lindsay. So you're the first guest that I've had on that sold real estate in the 1000s. Right?
That sold real estate when?
In the 1000s.
That is so funny. Is that because that seemed a long time ago to you?
I was alive in the 1000s.
Did they even have real estate agents in the 1000s?
I think they...
Imagine.
But if you had a time machine, what year would you go back to in your career and why that year?
So I would go back to the 80s. I loved it all. I loved every bit of it. But quality was in the 80s for me.
Good to know. Huh. Okay, so following that, what do you think today's agents could be doing better? What advice would you have for today's agents?
Get to know each other.
Okay.
Get to know the players. Yeah, get to know the players and have a good relationship with the players. Because I would often say that to my sellers. I would say, my relationship with Carlos Fernandez or whatever is extremely important to me because it's important to you whether you realize it or not. It's a very important relationship, and I don't want to screw that up. So I don't think agents know agents as well anymore as they used to because of technology.
Yeah, lots of texts, lots of
texts, and you don't know somebody. Like I used to be really. I talk a lot, but I also observe a lot. I'm very observant, and I could tell a lot by people's facial expressions and
body language.
yes, body language, and you don't get that with technology. Yeah.
Okay. Another memory check for you. You said you've been trading since 1984. Realtors are known for their cars. I want to know, can you remember every car that you've driven?
Oh yeah.
Since 1984.
Oh yeah.
Let's hear it. I want to hear the
So
progression.
Dodge Omni, a blue Dodge Omni with manual gear shift, a secondhand Chrysler LeBaron, 2-door hardtop.
Okay.
After the Chrysler LeBaron, a Honda Civic.
A humble Honda Civic.
A Honda Civic. Yeah, but it was brand new.
Okay.
So now I'm out of the used cars. I'm into the brand new Honda Civic, and then a Buick LeSabre.
All right, moving up.
And it was mauve color, and it was a car that General Motors, an executive car. I got it at Turpan, and I looked good in it. The color was really good on me. And the guy said to David, "Is she for real?" Because that was all that mattered. Like, he opened the hood, and David said, "Close the hood." She's not interested. And all I cared about was, I said, "Do I look good in this car?" David said, "Yeah, you look good. The color is good." I said, "Yeah, I think so too." So Buick LeSabre, that one. And then the next one was another Buick LeSabre, brand new, forest green. Then a forest green Acura, not the top one, not the RD, the one down from that. I forget what it was. It was forest green with lovely camel-colored leather interior.
Oh, all right.
And that's the only car I ever leased. And I loved it. I loved that car. And I looked good in that car. Really loved it. But then the lease was up, and to buy it was going to be so much money. I'm not doing that. Like that. That's just silly. I don't know. Maybe I'd had it 2 years or 3 years or something. And that's the last time I ever leased it. I'm not doing that anymore. And then I started just writing a check. Just bought them all from then on. And then, so the next one, so that was the green Acura. Then I went back to a used one. I bought a navy blue Acura that had been owned by some diplomat, but it was beautifully appointed. It was nice. But it smelled like bubble gum. It smelled like bubble gum, and they had a heck of a time getting that smell out of that car. So I didn't have that very long. I don't know, like about 10 months. Then I bought another brand new white Acura. 3 white Acuras in a row. 3.
They knew your name, obviously.
Then I turned 70. Then I thought, I'm not buying any more of these kind of cars. I'm buying a Mercedes. Because all my life, from the time I was, you're aware of cars. I know you are, and so am I. But I thought, I want a Mercedes. But I didn't want to drive a car ever that would make a client feel threatened or make them feel that I was making too much money or was doing better than they were. But I decided when I turned 70, if they were still working, they too could afford to do what I was doing.
Right.
Because I taught school for 20 years before 36 years of real estate. I worked a long time. And I was careful with my money, Oh my gosh, I love my car. It's 7 years old now.
That's what you've got there in the driveway?
That's the one out there.
You gonna let me drive it? You gonna let me drive it?
That was so funny. Which one did you drive? Was it the white one?
I think it was the white one.
Oh, you
yeah.
terrified me. You said, "Can I just drive it around the lot?" And I said, "Sure." So we get in the car. Oh my gosh, you gunned it out of that parking lot on Carling and then onto the Queensway. I thought I totally lost control.
Are we?
It was so funny.
I told you. First of all, I did not gun that.
Oh, well,
I think our definition of
well,
gunning
you
an
did,
engine is probably
like,
a
I've
little
never
bit
done
different.
that.
Well, and that was
So,
my
like,
fear, right? Is that car, as beautiful as it was, would never see three
Yeah,
digits on the
yeah.
speedometer. So,
But this one's going to see me through.
all right,
I love my car.
we'll take it out after this. Did you ever do a deal with?
Oh, I went to the board because of it.
So I'm gonna. So this is probably year 2. We had some deals set up where we had to exchange notices of fulfillment in person, right? Because we had a condition out, they had a condition out. So, anyways, it had to be done in person. And I show up with the paperwork and I'm ready to go. And I walk in, and her clients are there in the dining room, right? She's there.
There was her listing.
Yeah, her sellers were there. And so we sit down and, sort of chatting while they're getting things ready. I look over, and out of, I guess it's a main floor den, comes her son, walks out in his underwear, kind of like scratches, like this, just walks across the hallway into the kitchen. And I look over, she didn't flinch once. I look at her clients, I'm like, is this really happening?
Oh, gee. Were your buyers with you?
No, this was just me, thank goodness. 10 seconds later, out comes his girlfriend from the same room.
No, in her underwear?
Well, like slightly more modest, but walks across the hall following him.
No.
It was so strange.
Oh, that is
'cause
really...
I couldn't believe this was happening. And so, eventually we signed the notices, we exchanged them, and I was like out of there. Because I would have been, 1 or 2 years in the business. And I thought, oh, this is, if this is how every
is
deal's
this the
gonna
way
go,
it's going to
then-
be? And she never batted an eye?
Just a regular Tuesday at her house, I
Right.
guess.
So he said, this old guy built this house with his father when he was still a young man, maybe in his teens, helped his father build this house on Britannia Road. When the old man's father died, he left the house to the sister. But the provision was that this old man, the brother, was to live with her in the house. So I go to the house. He's about 88. He wasn't very happy that his house was having to be sold, but he had to be going. He couldn't stay there any longer. So I list the house. And we only took pictures of the outside at that time. You never took inside pictures at that time, just the outside. And I put it on the market, I don't know, about 74,000 or something like that it was. And so I went to take the feature sheets to the door. And I ring the doorbell, and he comes to the door. He's got a shotgun, and he's pointed at me. And he says, get out of here, or I'll shoot you. He says, I'll shoot you. He says, then I'll have a place to live and 3 meals a day.
Oh, my God.
I go, okay. So then I go back to the office, and I tell Rolly, and then we phone Dr. Cavan, and Dr. Cavan laughs, and he says, oh, I don't think that gun's loaded. I'll go and see him. Dr. Cavan phones me back that night. He says, geez, Mary, that gun was loaded. He's pretty unhappy. That guy had a loaded shotgun.
Who put the sold topper on?
Huh?
Who put the sold topper on?
Not me.
No.
Not me. Oh, geez, that was a bad one. I was working on my own, but I had to list this house, and I'd never met the people before, but it was in Orleans, off the 10th line on...
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, it was a Minto house, and it was listed at 109,000, just your basic 3-bedroom basic house, 1986 or so again. And I asked Kent Brown, he was in our office, and he was younger than I was, but I really liked him. He was just always enthusiastic and funny and whatever. I said, do you want to list this thing with me? Because I said, I don't want to be going out to Orleans all the time. He said, sure. And we'd have showing after showing after showing, and I'd say to them, we got to bring it down to about 106. No, we're not bringing it down. And they wouldn't reduce it. And so then it was in June, and Kent was going to Mary was a teacher, and it was her end of the year school staff party. So Kent was going somewhere in Hull to that party. And Sharon Buckland, I think was her name, was Century 21 in Orleans. Only time I ever met her. She phoned and said she had an offer for me on the house. And it was irrevocable till, say, 7 o'clock at night. And it was a Friday night. And so I phoned the lady at work and said, I have an offer on your house, and I have only until 7 o'clock that I have to deal with it. She said, okay. She said, come for 6 o'clock. I said, okay. So on a Friday night, driving out to Orleans to the 10th line, a lot of traffic and stuff. I get there, I go to the door, and the husband says, my wife's not home, she's grocery shopping. I said, oh, well, I was to meet her here at 6 o'clock. And he said, well, she's not here. Wait in your car. Okay. So I go and I sit in the car and finally she comes into the driveway at about 6:30, 27. I said, I only have 20 minutes to deal with this offer. I have to bring the groceries in. I said, well, if we go past 7 o'clock, this offer's dead, and then you haven't got anything. So she comes to the door about 10 to 7. She says, come in. So we counter it. That's fine. No problem there. Maybe the offer came in at 102,000 or something. So we counter it at 109 probably, because they were really stuck on the 109. So I take it back to Sharon Buckland's house, as you do in that time. You drive to somebody's house. And this Sharon Buckland lived in Orleans, but she said to me, have you had any dinner? And I said, no, I haven't. And she said, well, I've just made a salad. Would you like a little bit of salad and a cup of tea? I said, that would be lovely. She said, and while you're having that, she said, I'm just going to run over to my people's house. They just live a couple of streets away, and I'll get this countered. So wasn't that nice? But that's the way things used to be. Mm-hmm. So I had a little salad and a cup of tea. And I go back, and we go back and forth and back and forth. Now I'm sitting there. It's 9:30, 9:45 at night. And so I had the offer up to 107,500. And I said, you're not going to do any better than this. And I'm not going to leave this house until you sign this. He said, really? I said, really? That's how strongly I know that this is the best offer you're ever going to see. You're backing on the 10th line. There's a lot of traffic out there, and people, they don't like your lot. And then, your house is pretty basic. Anyway, he gets up, says to his wife, come on. They start turning the lights out. And they go to bed. We don't have cell phones or anything.
You're still in the house.
And I'm in the house. And I'm in there, and I can't phone David. I can't do anything. I am in the house. In the house. And they've gone to bed. And I am and the offer's irrevocable.
They didn't see you out. They just turned off the lights.
They turned off all the lights.
Assumed you would let yourself out.
And went to bed. And I had said, I'm not leaving until you sign this. So they go to bed, and I'm sitting there. At about 10 minutes to 12, a light goes on upstairs. They come down, they sign it, and they said, now get out.
How long were you sitting there in the dark?
Till 10 to 12 at night.
When did they turn off the lights?
About 9:30, quarter to 10. Sitting there all by myself in this friggin' house. All by myself. Me. Kent had a party, and me sitting there, and they went to bed on me.
You sat in their living room for 2 hours in the dark.
Well, I said, I'm not leaving until you sign this.
You're a legend.
That is something.
You're a legend.
That is a good one. There was a guy in our office who got me a 24-hour listing on a house in Rockcliffe for my clients, a doctor and his wife who lived in Alta Vista. And I had been showing regularly houses in Rockcliffe. This would have been in the early 90 to 95, somewhere in that time period. So I go to Rockcliffe, and the doctor and his wife are waiting, meet me there, and I go up to the door, and I ring the doorbell, and the lady comes to the door, and I go, hi, I'm Mary Lindsay. I hand her my card, and I walk in. She doesn't have the lights on in the hall. I start turning the lights on in the hall. I go in the living room. There's no lights on in the living room. I'm going around turning on all the lamps in the living room. She's walking behind me. My couple are walking behind me. I'm talking about what a nice living room this is and what a pretty fireplace and, good space and blah, blah, blah. And nice oak hardwood floors, and then we go in the dining room. This is a good size, great for entertaining. Take your dining room suite nicely, flicking on the lights, of course. Then I get in the kitchen, and then she says to me, "What?" The owner goes, "What are you doing?" I go, "I am showing your house." "Why?" I said, "Because so and so arranged for me to show it." She said, "I don't even know who you are, what you're talking about. My house is not for sale." I go, "Your house is not for sale?" Then, like, I am killing myself laugh. I go, "Your house is not for sale?" I said, "You have been letting me do all this stuff." She says, "I can't believe it." I said, "Why have you let me do that?" She said, "I don't know. There's something about you." I said, "I'm so sorry." She said, "The house next door is for sale," but there was no sign on it. I said, "There's no sign on it." She said, "I know, but it's the one that's for sale, not mine."
You showed up to the wrong house.
And she let me in. And she let me get all the way through the everything right till I got to the kitchen before she goes, "What are you doing?"
That's a perfect example of just act like you know what you're doing, and most people will just
I
assume you
remember
know what you're
walking
doing.
in, hand the card. "Hi, I'm Mary Lindsay." Little eye contact, hand her the card. Keep going, turn the lights on, clean up, tidy up, whatever. Just